This is from Mara and the Solomon Islands. I think the moment everything changed for me was the day I realized the sea wasn't just getting closer. It was already inside my yard. I remember standing there, trying to pretend it wasn't a big deal, even though my stomach felt tight. I grew up believing the ocean would always stay where it belonged, but lately it feels like it doesn't recognize its boundaries anymore. Some mornings I walk outside and see puddles where there used to be dry sand, and I catch myself wondering how much I've been ignoring. When I was a child, this land felt permanent. My parents used to tell me that our home had been here for generations. I remember running barefoot across the yard without thinking about tides or storms. Back then, the water always felt far away, like it respected us. Now the shoreline looks different every month. The trees closest to the water are slowly dying, and some have already fallen into the sea. I sometimes stand there and try to picture where the old line used to be. It's almost embarrassing how much I didn't notice until it was too late. My kids are starting to notice things I wish they didn't. One day, my youngest asked me, "Mom, is the ocean taking our home?" I didn't know how to answer. I just told him we would be okay, even though I wasn't sure. It's a strange feeling, trying to protect them from something you can't control. Food has become harder to grow too. The soil is changing, and some of our vegetables just don't survive anymore. When I pull out wilted plants, I feel this mix of frustration and guilt. Like I should somehow be able to fix all of this, even though I know I can't. Some of my relatives think we should move inland. Others say leaving would be like abandoning our ancestors. Every conversation turns into an argument, and I'm caught in the middle. I want my children to be safe, but I also don't want to be the one who breaks our family's traditions. Sometimes at night, when the house is quiet, I lie awake thinking about what it would mean to leave. I imagine packing our things, stepping away from this place that holds all my memories. The thought makes my chest feel tight, but staying has its own kind of fear too. Did you know? In parts of the Solomon Islands, rising tides have already submerged entire coastlines. Studies show people often experience quiet grief long before they ever move, because they're slowly watching their past disappear. If that sounds familiar, it makes sense. It's a real kind of grief. A few months ago, we had one of the worst floods I'd ever seen. The water came in fast and pushed right through our doorway. I remember grabbing buckets and trying to get it out, but it felt like I was fighting something much stronger than me. My kids stayed on the bed, watching quietly. That part hurt the most. That night, after the water finally went down, I cleaned the floor in silence. My kids had fallen asleep, and I didn't want to wake them. I remember feeling tired in a way that wasn't just physical. It was like the kind of tired that settles into your bones. The next morning, my daughter handed me a small seashell she found outside. She told me it would protect the house. I didn't know whether to smile or cry. I just thanked her and put it on the windowsill. For a moment, her hope felt stronger than my fear. A few days later, our village held a community meeting. Everyone showed up. Parents, elders, young people. The mood was tense. People talked over each other, arguing about risks, traditions, and where we could even go if we decided to relocate. It felt like no one had real answers. When it was my turn to speak, I froze for a moment. I didn't want to sound weak or dramatic, but the words just came out. I said I was scared. I said I didn't know how to keep my children safe. The room went quiet, and for a second, I wondered if I had said too much. One of the elders tried to reassure me, saying our people had survived storms before. But this felt different. Storms come and go. This is slow and constant. It doesn't give you time to breathe or rebuild. I left the meeting feeling more confused than when I arrived. That night, I remembered something my grandmother used to say, "The land remembers your feet." As a kid, I thought it sounded beautiful. As an adult, I'm realizing it also means something heavier. Leaving isn't just moving. It's letting go of something that shaped you. A few weeks later, another high tide came in, and I watched the water swallow part of the yard that had always been dry. I stood there with my hands on my head, thinking, How am I supposed to fight this? There was no anger, just this slow, sinking helplessness. One morning, I woke up before sunrise and walked to the shoreline. The sky was still gray, and the water was pushing up against what used to be the safe boundary. I watched clumps of soil break off and drift away. It felt like watching parts of my life disappear, little by little. I tried to imagine raising my kids somewhere else, somewhere inland or even on another island, but then I pictured the faces of my grandparents, the stories tied to this place, the graves in the village. I felt torn in a way that didn't have a right answer. Every day now, I feel this quiet pressure building in my chest. I'm starting to realize I can't promise my children the safety I used to. That's the part that keeps me awake. Not the water, not the storms, but the feeling that I might have to choose between our culture and their future. Some afternoons, I walk around the house slowly, noticing all the small changes. The cracks in the ground, the salt stains on the wood, the way the air smells different after each high tide. None of these things were there before, and seeing them makes everything feel more real. My oldest son asked me recently if we would ever live somewhere higher. He said it casually, but I could hear the worry behind it. Kids don't always say what they feel directly, but they notice everything. It hurts knowing they're already thinking about moving when I still can't decide. I wish I could talk to someone who's already gone through this, someone who understands what it feels like to watch home disappear slowly. But everyone around me is in the same situation, and no one wants to be the first to admit how much it scares them. A couple of families in our village have already left. They didn't make big announcements, they just packed quietly and went inland. I can't blame them, but seeing their empty houses makes the whole village feel different, like the community is slowly thinning out without saying goodbye. One evening, I sat outside and watched the sun set behind the water. I used to love that view. Now it feels like a reminder that time is moving faster than I expected. I kept asking myself, how do you decide when it's time to leave the only place you've ever known? I talked with my sister about it, and she told me she's been thinking about leaving too. She said she doesn't want to see her kids scared anymore. Hearing her say it made my heart sink, because it meant I wasn't the only one feeling this tug of war inside. The next high tide reached the steps of our house. I tried to stay calm, but inside I felt something shift, like a part of me finally accepted that things won't go back to how they were. It's a strange mix of sadness and clarity. I found myself at the shoreline again the next morning, standing alone with my feet in the wet sand. I'm not sure what I was hoping for. Maybe a sign, maybe just a moment to breathe. I watched the waves come in and thought about my children sleeping inside. The truth is, I still don't know what the right choice is. Staying feels brave and foolish at the same time. Leaving feels safe and heartbreaking. I keep hoping something will make the decision easier. But I'm starting to think that moment may never come. Thank you for listening. If this story touched you, feel free to leave a comment. Your words might help someone who's going through something heavy. And if you want more real stories like this, consider liking the video and subscribing.